Hey everyone, today we are going to be taking a look at the Alchemy Almanac. Now, this video isn't so much a review as more of an explanation into this system. This is supposed to be something that will plug in pretty nice and easy with the 5e core rulebooks. This is an alternative crafting system for alchemical items, doing herbalism, inspecting plants and whatnot. This serves as a rule set for your players to engage with if they want to get into this layer of complexity in order to kind of fulfill that fantasy for role-playing out characters based around coming up with alchemical items, as well as a world-building tool for DMs out there that want to build out the flora of different locations. If you want that level of immersion going on, this is a pretty easy way to plug this into your world and just populate out basically any of the environments that your players are going to run into. So before we get really into the system and everything, just know, real quick disclaimer right up front, this video was sponsored by the creator who did provide a copy of the PDF to me, and because I am a designer working in the scene, Heavy and I, well, Heavy's been a mechanical consultant on some of my stuff. I checked out some of his stuff while it was still in the design phase, and we've talked about collaborating on some projects in the future. So just that disclaimer right there. This won't be so much a review, more so that I'm looking at the system, explaining it, and then giving my opinion as to what tables I think that this kind of a thing would be right for. So real quick, who is Heavy Arms? Came to prominence back during, I want to say this is like, what, 2020? With the Armorer's Handbook over on the Dungeon Masters Guild. That thing is an adamantium bestseller. I know I have been using his Gunslinger class at my tables now for about a year. I just love the hybrid, like, Western fantasy. Some people call it, like, gunpowder mage sort of fantasy. So whenever I knew that he was working on this one, I knew that he had been doing the project at the same time that I was making my alchemist class. So what I would love to do eventually is make an alternative alchemist that embraces this system. Because what I think Heavy has done here, with this being something of a follow-up to the Armorer's Handbook, is this is a system that I think for tables that have probably been playing for a couple months and they want to embrace some of the more complex aspects of, well, I want to create magic items now, and maybe the 5e rules just really aren't all that fulfilling to it, right? I know that they can be a little bit confusing, where I've got to go get these raw materials of a certain gold piece value, and then if it's a consumable, like, it's half the whatever. Yeah. If that's not really doing it for you, and you'd like to embrace some of the more survivalist aspects of it, where you need to go out into the wild, collect these ingredients, and make the item itself, this is a real nice plugin that's going to be, I think there's, like I said, a little bit more complexity than the 5e rules, but this is actually one of the more elegant systems I've seen. So let's get into the PDF itself. So we'll scroll all the way down to the table of contents. Now, this one has quite a lot of mechanical weight that you're going to get out of a 50-page PDF here. This one's for, I believe it's $19.99 over on his store, and that link will be down in the description below. You can see Chapter 1, Fieldcraft. This is giving you rules for gathering plants or harvesting creatures that you may have killed in battle, or that you just find like a carcass out there or something. Chapter 2, this is all about herbalism, making different kinds of medicines and their descriptions. Chapter 3 is all about alchemy, creating potions, the different like side effects and all their different descriptions in here. This section, running the game, just goes over some of the official rules as well as some terms that are to be understood, or I guess rather mechanics that are to be understood as we're going through the rest of this document here. Just using a potion, it takes an action, yada yada. Combining potions, from what I'm gathering here, this is like if I drink one potion and then drink another, not quite literally like mixing them together, because he references the variant rules that are in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Potions as magic items, just clarifying potions function as magic items, so therein they don't really work whenever they're in like an anti-magic field. And then what happens with potions and dispel magic. Going further down, we have new terminology. This is the burning condition that Heavy has written for this. Burning is a condition in which, like, if you think of it like alchemist fire, it's basically simplifying that all down into this new condition with a couple of other kind of funny effects here, that a creature sheds bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light for an additional 20 feet. I thought that was funny. But he talks about how the burning condition, a burning creature takes fire damage at the start of each of its turns. The amount of damage is shown in the triggering effect in parentheses. So if it says burning 1d6, burning 2d6 at the start of each of its turns, it's going to take that damage while it's burning, right? Now, the condition is going to end. He gives all that disclaimer. Well, I say disclaimer. He gives all those rules right in here for how that's going to end. Notes some spells and other magical effects that can cure disease or poison also in the burning condition. Creatures with immunity to fire damage also have immunity to the burning condition. Now, me personally, I think that this could actually expand out to be like acid burns, right? Where, I mean, I like the idea of this condition a lot. This would super simplify things like Alchemist Fire, which is what I think he intended to create this for. But yeah, I think that you could extend this even further to like burning acid, right? From the burning condition, we also get extended rests. An extended rest is a period of downtime between adventures, at least 1 week long, during which a character attends to other affairs. Some potions in this book require the drinker to finish an extended rest before it can benefit from the effects of that potion again. So these are rules that I can remember. I want to say that it was Strongholds and Followers also had an extended rest mechanic in there that follows the same rules here. I actually like this idea a lot, and I would like to see the official books kind of explore this territory a bit. The closest that we get to it in an official capacity, I think, is like Divine Intervention for Cleric. But anyways, moving on from there, adjusting prices. This is more so just giving, like, Heavy really likes to show his math. If you pick up his Gunslinger and you look in the back appendix, he's trying to show like how he did the damage scaling calculations for the Gunslinger in there. So with this, he's also showing mathematics for how he thinks that we want to calculate the average income for what a party would have at these certain levels. I actually really like this a lot, and I think that I would get this PDF to just clip this out and have it on my DM screen or like in my DM binder. This is cool. I hadn't actually really thought about this, like what the average income of a party is going to be at these certain levels. Back whenever I made the merchant, I was more so thinking of like kind of calculating it based off of like how valuable is a spell slot worth. And I don't know, I like this quite a bit. Moving on from there, we're getting into chapter 1. This is Fieldcraft. The things that are going to, I think, pertain to most D&D tables that you're going to want to know if you're going to get this system are going to be right here in these headers, gathering requirements and the gathering process. A real quick summary as to what this system does. Based off of the environment that you're in, you can spend an hour, which you can do during a short or long rest, or while you're traveling at a normal or slow pace. After that hour is spent while you're just out in nature looking and foraging for these different plants, you're going to make a nature check. There's also rules in here for that. If you are proficient with an herbalism kit or another creature is helping you, you're going to make that check with advantage. And additionally, he also buffs up the ranger in here because I know he made his variant ranger as well. With this favored terrain class feature, you get a +2 bonus to the check. Now, the other thing that I like in here that he did to kind of clean this up is that there's no temporary modifiers that can apply to this check. So like Bardic Inspiration, you can't go out into the field and then suddenly the bard runs up, gives you inspiration, and then you get that additional, it's got to be something that had to apply for the entire duration. So like at least an hour. I think that is a very nice fix. Very, very nice and clean. With these rules, if you roll a 10 or higher on this check, you're going to successfully harvest a plant. Now, the plant that you get is based off of what your check was. So let's say that I rolled, an 18, right? So what this would mean is I'm then going to roll on the common flora table to harvest 1 or more units of common flora. The activity has a component DC of 10 plus 5, which means the DC is 10 to collect the first unit and increases by 5 for each additional unit after that. For example, if the result of your check is 17, you can roll twice on the common flora table, each time harvesting 1 unit of the common flora corresponding to the number rolled. Now, this is something that I think, as I was going through this with Amanda, this took a second for us to kind of get, but once we got it, this totally made sense. I do think I would have loved to have seen an example table right in here that could have made it, oh, okay, I can see right there, but we have to go to Appendix A. Let's do something fun. I installed this dice roller here. This is a perfect reason for me to use it. Now, let's say that I am, I'm spending an hour now. My party is in, let's say, the mountains. Yeah, sure, I have a +3 bonus to the check, And I have advantage because I'm also proficient with herbalism kits. So I'm going to roll a d20, boop, boop. And that's going to give me 16, 18, okay. Which would mean if I'm on the mountains, I could get possibly 3 rolls on the common flora table or the essences table if I'm looking for that. Like, I like the essences because it feels like, I know a lot of worlds use like ley lines or portals that are potentially seeping with like elemental essence or something. So I can potentially get 3 of the essences over there, or I can choose to get 1 unit of sweet Alorian or dragonwort, or 1 unit of red mountain flower. So because we just want to go over to the common flora table, this is a good excuse right here. We're just going to roll 3 on that. So 1, 2, 1. Okay, so 6. So I found willow bark. Let's do another one. I found deadly nightshade. And 5. So juniper berries. All right, so I get a unit of deadly nightshade, juniper berries, and willow bark. Now, that also means I can spend more time out there foraging to potentially get more ingredients for this stuff. So, yeah, I do like the roleplay aspect that this is injecting and the world building for, like, you know, right off the bat, like with these environments right here, if you just wanted to plug this into your world, this one page is actually pretty awesome for that. You have these common plants that can just kind of populate sort of wherever, and then something that's a little bit more special in here. I know that if you get mistletoe, that can serve as, you know, the spellcasting component for Goodberry. I do like that there's more uses for this other than just this one system right here. Going through these rules a little bit further, the result of 15 or higher, that was what I just did over there. You can get 1 unit of a rare flora of your choice from that terrain table if the DC is, you know, equal to or lower than that. But on a result of 20 or higher, what I really like is that you can take a -5 penalty to the check to harvest 1 unit of a rare flora of your choice from a different terrain table than your current environment. The chosen flora must have a component DC equal to or lower than the new result. Giving you the potential to find a plant that isn't around the area right now, I think is a nice idea because it makes it a lot more reliable for you to find the ingredients for maybe a potion that it's like, oh crap, we're in the grassland right now. We could really use something that gives us fire resistance, but there's just nothing that grows in this area. Maybe I'll look around, see, I don't know, maybe something fell off of a merchant's cart or you know, something, whatever, right? I won't linger too much on the next 2 headers, although I think that this one is kind of cool. This is just about, you don't need to track whether or not these things are going to spoil because you can assume that in an herbalism kit or alchemist supplies, it's going to have the whatever you need, vials or whatever to make sure that they won't spoil. But with spell-assisted gathering, these are just some of the official spells that you can find to potentially enhance these checks that you're going to make or the quantity of the different plants that you're going to find. Heavy also gives you rules in here for harvesting from creatures. So there's a new tool in here called the harvesting kit that has these different components. This feels very much like the Xanthar's guide kind of layout for what tools can do for you. Harvesting requirements. A character that is proficient with and in possession of a harvesting kit can attempt to harvest useful components from a creature or corpse, with proficiency representing the basic competence needed to wield the tools effectively. If the target isn't dead, it must be incapacitated for the duration of any attempt to harvest components from it, or the attempt fails. So the harvesting process here is going to follow a sort of similar structure to what we saw with foraging for plants, except here this is going to take 5 minutes or longer, and it can be performed during a short or long rest. So put the corpse on a cart, drag it somewhere safe, and you can just keep hacking away at it, right? Now, at the end of the period, you make a harvesting check using your harvesting kit. If you or a creature helping you is proficient in the skill associated with the target's type, shown in the creature harvesting table, you gain advantage on the check. Furthermore, if you or a creature helping you has the favored enemy class feature and the target is a favored enemy, you gain a +2 bonus to the check. So here we have a buff to Ranger. Temporary modifiers and other effects, as we saw earlier with foraging, don't apply to these rules. So, well, unless they last for the duration. But the harvesting modifier is going to be equal to your proficiency bonus plus your strength or dexterity modifier, your choice. Let's say the party kills a gelatinous cube and I want to harvest something off of it. Well, if I'm proficient with nature, then I would be able to get advantage on the check, or if one of my party members was. Most likely, you're going to have these skills covered. I think investigation, survival are pretty common. Just about every spellcaster that's casting, sorcerer, wizard, warlock, or whatever seems to just always snag Arcana because that seems like a, no duh. Medicine, again, like clerics, druids seem to always get these, as well as with religion. I think most likely in most conventional party compositions, you're going to have someone that's going to be able to help you get advantage on this check. But going on from there, on a result of 10 or higher, you successfully harvest one or more components. Consult the harvesting index in Appendix C to determine what they are. The GM decides if any components a target would normally possess are damaged or missing. For example, the eyes of a creature consumed by a fireball spell might be destroyed by the conflagration. Man, each component has a component DC and an available amount. For components with more than one unit available, the component DC increases by 5 for each unit after the first. So it builds off of the system that was already given for gathering plants earlier on. In Appendix C, this is probably the most simple creature loot table I've seen, where this just gives you real quick and easy for all these creatures. You can potentially get these elemental essences, so it's something of an abstraction here. You as a GM can determine like what that essence might be. Let's say it's something that's not particularly covered in here, right? Maybe I just decide, does he say gelatinous cube in here? So you get like enchanted gelatin. That's real cute. But maybe it was one that was imbued with like primordial water energy or something. I don't know. So then I might be able to get a water essence from that creature, right? Something that is a bit more abstract here, but you can determine like what that idea is. Oh, I love that you covered cave fishers in here. These are some of my favorite creepy monsters that I just don't really see much people talk about. Cave fishers are like natural trap makers in any cave. You can slot these in, usually in like a tier, I wouldn't say like a first or second level party, but like you can most likely do cave fisher encounter at like level, I'd probably stick to like level 4 or 5. I just really like these things. Also, apparently, if you drink their blood, it's super alcoholic, and so you get the monster blood in hey, there you go. So let's just do that. Let's say that we just killed off a cave fisher. I'm going to spend the time to harvest it, and I've got a buddy with me who is proficient with, let's say, what are they? They're monstrosities, right? Survival, sure. So what we're going to do, I'm going to have, we'll say that +3, +5, because proficiency. And let's go down to the creature loot. They're going to give me advantage on that check. So let's do that. We got 10 and the 17. Okay, so I basically got a 22 on that check. So with that 22, I could get the Cave Fisher Adhesive Filament. I think it's just that one, right? Yeah, and then if the GM just decides that maybe there's more of it to harvest, you could get Monster Blood off of it if you wanted. Okay. So yeah, that is pretty simple, actually, overall. I've got to give you big props on this, just having the creature loot be represented here as like one page. I would honestly just love to get this creature loot table and throw it in my DM binder just to have on the fly if somebody did ask. Boom. I would so much rather have this. Like, I all the love in the world to the people that have made the Herculean effort to try and get like item properties for every single little piece of what all these monsters are going to have. I know those are massive tasks, but like I can't help it. Having something this simple that I can just kind of refer to real quick, I think I'm most likely going to run with a system like this. But moving on from there, and I'll let you all just kind of admire this awesome artwork. Moving on from there, we do have the Herbalism chapter. So with this is covering making medicine. The medicine categories, there are augmenting, curative, fortifying, restorative, and special. And as you can see right here, the plant checks that you made earlier, or the foraging checks that you made earlier, are immediately going to apply in something like this, right? I believe earlier I got juniper berries, so it's the sort of thing that if I got those juniper berries, I could potentially make something that has curative properties in here. Talks about secondary components, so there might be something that's a little bit more specific that I may have to find as well. And then crafting requirements, a character that is proficient with and in possession of a herbalism kit can attempt to create a dose of medicine, with proficiency representing the basic competence needed to wield the tools effectively. In addition, you must provide all of the following, which are shown in the medicine's description. 1 unit of the primary component for the medicines category, we got those juniper berries earlier. 1 unit of any secondary components, 5 gold pieces for rare herbs, typically found in a herbalism kit. An index of all the recipes in this chapter can be found in Appendix D. So I think that's kind of standard MO of what we would be expecting out of a crafting system like this. So the crafting process follows basically the same similar rules as to what we saw earlier. It requires an hour of uninterrupted work, which you can perform during a short or long rest, and then at the end of it, you make this check, yada yada. Herbalism kit modifier, right here, your proficiency bonus plus your intelligence or wisdom modifier, your choice. On a success, the medicine is created, otherwise the attempt fails and all components are wasted. The DC depends on the strength of the medicine as shown in the creating medicines table. Any interruptions to the process result in automatic failure. If this is a low strength potion, this is going to be a DC 10, moderate, DC 15, high, you guys can see this table, right? Now, you can consult the crafting successes table in Appendix F to quickly determine the chances of success for a given crafting attempt. This appendix here is heavy showing his work, really. This is telling you basically right here, if you're worried about the party being able to potentially craft one of these extremely rare and powerful potions, how likely is it that they're going to be able to get that, yada yada. All that's shown up in here. So, helping you out with some of your buy-in if you're not totally sold on the balance of a system like this. At least he's showing his work, right? So, enhancing medicines, you can potentially infuse medicines with the special enhancing flora. Alchemilia to extend duration. For each unit of alchemilia used in a medicine with a base duration of at least 1 minute, its duration increases by the following increments. 1 minute becomes 10 minutes, 10 minutes becomes 1 hour, 1 hour becomes 8 hours, and 8 hours becomes 24 hours. This effect is cumulative. For example, an antitoxin created with 1 unit of alchemilia has a duration of 8 hours instead of 1 hour. If instead with 2 units, its durations become 24 hours instead. The next one in here, ephedra, this is going to increase the medicine's potency, so we're adding additional dice into the temporary hit points or hit points restored with that. This in here, this is the modularity that I think a lot of people have been looking for in a system like this. I do like this quite a bit. I think that what would wind up happening is some tables might get a little bit confused by the tracking element of like, well, this is the one that has the alchemilia and then yada, yada, yada. But I think that that's kind of an expectation of a thing like this. If you're wanting this level of complexity, tracking it on a separate part of either like a different character sheet or whatever, is just sort of the kind of thing that I think tables are wanting. So I knew I got that juniper berry earlier. If I would want to make a basic healing tonic, let's scroll down because we have all the medicine descriptions in here. I know that I can most likely make it because it has a 1-star difficulty here. The additional stars that are shown in there, a medicine can be enhanced up to a number of times equal to the number of empty stars shown in its description. Medicines that lack at least 1 empty star can't be enhanced. So the ephedra here won't just like multiply indefinitely to where you can make like a 20d8 potion or whatever. It will have its limitations, and this means that it can only be enhanced with 1, 2, 3 additional units of ephedra. Okay, so the healing tonic, let's scroll down to that. The healing tonic, it does not require any other components. So I have the juniper berry, I can make this thing, right? So a simple tisane using a decoction of fleshwort. When you drink it, you regain 2d6 hit points. Variant substituting fleshwort with juniper berries can create an equally effective healing tonic. Cool, so we got that. Super basic, right? Now, let's say I'm crafting it. I spend the, hour? So I'm just going to roll my d20 here by +3 to the check, plus the proficiency, so +5. Do I get it? I think that's a 6. Yeah, so I rolled over a 10. Yeah, there we go. So now I've created this healing tonic. That is a very, very quick overview. I will scroll through here just so you can see all the different medicines that Heavy's provided here. These are also the kinds of things that, hey, you can just totally stock up in an apothecary or whatever to sell to your players in town. You know, if you want that level of complexity, it's here for you. Again, I think that this is the kind of thing, at least this system right here, is enough to really appeal to, I would want to say tables that feel confident enough with the 5e system. Maybe they played through like Lost Mines of Phandelver and they're like, okay, we really dug that. Now we want to go on and do our next like bigger campaign, but we want a little bit more complexity into survival and crafting. This is, I think, the next kind of step up from just the 5e rules. Getting into this next chapter with alchemy is going to follow similar rules to what we saw earlier, and here's where the uses for the essences that you can gather really come into play. There is some basic stuff in here that will be required in order for you to make certain items. You need these alchemical bases. This was something I had been kicking around for a long time whenever I was making the alchemist. Like things like activated charcoal, alcohols, aluminum powder, brimstone, flash powder, greases, naphtha, naphtha, sure, powder oil, saltpeter, white phosphorus. These different reagents, these are the elemental essences that you can potentially harvest off of creatures. Again, referring to it as more of an abstraction rather than defining something. The aim of this is to make it as like setting agnostic, I believe, like as possible. Now, I will say, because Heavy told me, Gordon McAlpin made the font that was used for all the different like elemental symbols in here. So, man, just Gordon's one of the best graphic designers like in the scene. He's actually working with MCDM now. But yeah, I just really love the simplicity of these symbols in here. But because we had talked earlier about creating medicines, the alchemy system follows something fairly similar to that. You can see the complexity and everything in here. There's also the modularity of we might be able to enhance these or mix them together. Now, with the different item descriptions in here, you see acid has changed a little bit, where you can actually improve the damage of it by adding additional ingredients and whatnot. Alchemist Fire is the big one that I know is going to use the new burning condition, right? This volatile, sticky mixture ignites when exposed to air. As an action, you can throw the flask up to 20 feet, treating it as an improvised weapon. Hit or miss, the flask shatters on impact. On a hit, the target starts burning 1d4. So here's that burning condition. It's going to function in the same way as Alchemist Fire in the player's handbook, right? It's just there's a new condition added on here. But critical hits with Alchemist Fire add the extra damage to the damage caused by burning, as well as to the initial damage of the attack. So with here, I believe Heavy is saying that this Alchemist Fire is supposed to do the initial 1d4, like what Crawford said. And I don't really mind that idea really in theory. If players were adding that in to where, like, yeah, you do the 1d4 plus dex or strength, and then it starts burning on top of that, I really think that that's actually pretty fine. A creature must succeed on a DC 10 dexterity check to successfully put out the flames, yada, yada, yada. So this is Alchemist Fire, but just re-represented for this system that he's come up with. Now, scrolling through here a little bit more, there are different oils, potions. God, he has just filled this thing out. A way for you to make a potion of healing in here. Man, the amount of work that Heavy's put into this is just insane. It definitely shows that this took months. I think he's been working on this for over a year, if I remember that right. This is that pro level polish on a product. Like, and this thing is just gorgeous. All the artwork. And by the way, thank you for letting me use some of that awesome artwork in the layout. Yeah. Again, it would be a little bit more buy-in for tables that are newer to D&D. But if you do like that complexity, you want a little bit more of that, like I said, modularity, and I think influence into what kinds of magical items your party can potentially get. This is a very, very easy plugin for that. I think one of the most simple and pretty fun overall mechanics I've seen for that. But moving on from there, there is Chapter 4, the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians, talking about some like sorts of downtime activities and magic items that you could potentially pick up that could enhance crafting. We do have new player options in here. The School of Potioncraft for Wizard, Circle of the Grove for Druid, as well as the Artifice domain for Cleric. Different class features for will look like Artificer, Warlock, new feats, more magic items. Yeah. Wow. This is definitely, dude. This is definitely worth the $19 in my opinion. If like I said, if your table is looking for this level of modularity, I think that the Alchemy Almanac, this is sick. I think I'll end it there. There are some more character options further on in the book, as well as some more just sort of DM tips for running different guilds of like potion crafters and all that stuff. But this has been the Alchemy Almanac. This is by Heavyarms. You can go pick this up for, if I'm remembering this right, future Taron, correct me if I'm wrong, $19.99 over on his shop. I'll leave all that down in the description below. Let me know what you guys think, comments, all that good business. I'm sure Heavy might be down there as well to answer any questions you might have. So yeah. Anyways, guys, a huge shout out to my Patreon sponsors. Thank you all so much for helping me keep the lights on around here and coffee in my blood. You all are absolute heroes. Oh, and by the way, I'm also an affiliate of Only Crits now. So if you use the link down in the description below and check out with the code Indestructoboy, you'll get a little bit of a discount on your order, and I'll get a kickback over here so you can help support the channel. Even if you just go check it out using that link, it lets them know that, like, hey, I got an audience that wants to, you know, see more cool stuff. So go check out Only Crits. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope you all are staying safe, staying healthy, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.